Welcome, everyone, to another episode in the Business Ready for Sale podcast series. My name's John Denton, and I believe that a business that's ready for sale is well worth keeping. And one of the things I also believe in is learning from other people's experiences. And so I love to get people on my podcast who have done things to be successful in business. And today it's my great pleasure to have Amanda Rowe with me. So, hello, Amanda. Welcome.
Thank you so much, John. It's a pleasure to be here with you on this podcast of yours. I'm excited to share my journey and help fellow business owners on their pathway.
Yeah, that's great. It's I know a bit about your story and what you've been up to, and there's certainly lots of things we can learn from that. So, Amanda, first tell people what is your business? It's called Feeding Friend. I know it's a nursing pillow, but I'm a male. I'm not up with all these sort of things.
That's totally fine, John. My product is the Feeding Friend. It is an arm support pillow for anyone with an arm who wishes to connect and bond and enhance their parenting experience. So essentially, it reduces the symptoms of carpal tunnel and helps with relieving tension and aches and pains in the shoulders, back, and neck. So you don't necessarily even need to be feeding, breastfeeding, or bottle feeding. If you're watching the footy and burping your baby over your shoulder, it's fantastic elbow support and a way that we can slow down in our very busy modern worlds while connecting with our children.
Okay. So tell us, Amanda, how did you come up with the idea and when did it all start for you?
Sure. It all started when I had my second child. She was around 6 months of age and I had a toddler in tow. And so while I was kid wrangling my eldest and trying to comfortably breastfeed my 6-month baby, I felt as if I was going to drop the baby because my wrists were weak. And after a trip to the doctors, he confirmed I have carpal tunnel syndrome in both my wrists, which could have been prevented if I had taken better care of myself and used a nursing pillow. So off I went. I tried to find the most ideal, portable and practical nursing pillow on the market. And lo and behold, none existed. All of the nursing pillows are big, bulky, and incredibly impractical to travel with. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Women no longer stay at home and feed children. We balance our careers, appointments, and other things. Let's start looking into this a bit further. So the concept initially started as curiosity, which led into more of a project or a hobby, I would say. And then, I cut up pieces of foam and found the most ideal shape that suited all different types of body shapes and unique feeding styles. And that's when Feeding Friend was born.
Wow. Yeah. So putting it in business terms, you saw a problem. Well, you had a problem, but realized that this was a problem that a lot of people would have. And so your research showed there was no solution out there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it that in this world that we live in today, that the humble nursing pillow had not been reinvented to cater to the lifestyles of busy modern day parenting. And that was quite eye-opening for me. So my product, which has an international patented design, which we can definitely speak more of. If you'd like to know more about that process, I can mention that later.
Yeah.
But my product is so unique in the sense that its design purpose is for you to be able to comfortably hold your baby and feed your baby outside of the home. So it rolls up, goes inside a travel bag, and you can use it on the plane or while camping or at the shop or at a cafe, and actually allows you to comfortably sit while socializing or while connecting with your baby, wherever you are outside of the home.
Fantastic. So, having come up with a solution and created one for yourself, when did you decide to turn it into a business?
I decided to turn it into a business when I realized that there was no portable and practical solution for feeding your baby comfortably. And so that I knew that this was the idea that I had been waiting for and that I needed to move forward with protecting it. So that started, I registered the business name in 2015, late 2015, and I launched in 2016 at the Perth Pregnancies, Babies and Children's Expo.
Okay, so we'll come back to the trademark and patents bit, but now you need to get this thing manufactured. So how did you go
Yes.
about finding a manufacturer?
Oh, great question, John. I turned to my fellow Google friend, and that led me to Alibaba. And Alibaba had just been amazing for me. I connected with a manufacturer that is a good friend of mine to this very day. I have a very strong relationship with my factory. And it started with just an inquiry, dimensions. Are you able to manufacture this? And the answer was yes. And off we went. We connected, and it was lots of fun. My favorite part of starting my business.
Okay, so and where are Alibaba based?
Well, Alibaba is it's like another search engine for anyone to access. Uh, a lot of the factories are based in China, but there is factories all over as well. So it's just a way to connect and share information and receive some prototypes and then go from there.
Okay, so you got your prototypes. You're happy with the prototypes. Now you've got to start selling them. So how did you
Yes.
go about marketing and getting the demand up for the product?
Yes. Oh, the first step that I knew I needed to do was to protect the product, but you cannot release the product to market if you wish to hold a design patent. It's very important that that process is done before you bring the product to market, because legally, if you do release it or expose your new concept, your innovation, then that actually voids your ability to protect it. So thankfully, I had that information beforehand due to a prior business that I had. Which is another great story for you, John. But I had some background information on how important it is to protect your IP. And so when and how I came about actually manufacturing and bringing it to market. After I was happy with my overall design and I went through the formalities and the legalities of protecting the design, I was then able to look at, well, how can I expose and launch the product? That led me to, okay, a local baby market. Thought that's great. And then I had a new deadline. It's like, right, I need the stock by this deadline. And so I had a small batch of product manufactured and then delivered to me. And my it really does help to know your market, and even better when I am a nursing mother. And so along with myself and a whole heap of other amazing local Perth women who became my models, actually form my marketing. I have formed a part of my marketing team, and real people, real customers,
Yeah.
and yeah, have all come together, and that's how I launched.
Wow. So, yeah, know your market. Just going back to the patent thing again, I'll re-emphasize that you can't patent once you've monetized the product, once you're getting an income for the product. So, thank you for bringing that up because a lot of people don't realize that. You've got
Once you've exposed the product, so even if I had released a photo of the concept or the design, publicly, that will void your ability to protect it, your design.
Right. Yeah.
Very sensitive information. Yes,
Very good point. And you took out a trademark very early on as well.
that's correct. So I have an international logo trademark that's registered, which I actually add countries onto the Madrid Protocol system, which is just a fancy term of a mode in which you can add countries to protect your brand logo. I've also protected the physical design of the product, which is what makes it so unique. Its functionality, its practicality, and the portability of the product.
Yeah, fantastic. Was that an expensive process?
The most expensive process.
It was the most expensive process.
Yes. However, it's incredibly worth it in terms of I've needed to apply my patent, which I was able to successfully do without engaging in an attorney. But there was copycats, and my loyal audience within my community that were based in the US brought that to my attention, that there was a husband and wife duo in LA that had manufactured a similar product that was breaching my design IP. So I have actually reinforced the registration, and that is an asset. It also really does help having the design patent in the country of manufacturing. So it's manufactured in China. At one point, I was manufacturing within Australia around COVID as a pivot to avoid excess shipping costs that I experienced. That was quite an interesting journey, and I enjoyed that branding aspect of my product being Australian made. But in terms of cost and my target market, it just wasn't going to work. You cannot beat the labor costs and the overall costs when it is produced overseas. So back to China and manufacturing in China, I knew I needed the design patent, even though China will copy anything. That patent being held in China is so important because it prevents shipments from leaving if in the event there was a mass shipment heading over to the US, for example. My patent will stop that, and that's too big of a risk for them to actually go ahead and bring into other markets, international markets.
Okay, that's fascinating. And so what happened in LA with the people over there?
Well, they were very upset and they were very shocked because they had actually engaged in attorneys and did their due diligence and researched whether anything like that existed, and they spent thousands of dollars and obviously did not have a very thorough attorney. And I reassured them that I did have the trademarks and registrations, and I shared the numbers and the applications and the filings from my end, and they were really upset because they had the same vision that I had. I just got in first and protected my design. They were a lovely couple. They asked if I could buy their stock. At the time, I couldn't, and I advised them to recycle and to donate to hospitals and so forth.
Okay, fascinating. I do get into quite a lot of discussion with some business owners about whether to patent or not to patent and all that, and it's generally comes down to the cost, and then the cost to defend your patent if somebody does breach it. So it's interesting to hear your side of the story, where it's actually paid off for you, really, and been worth the investment. Because not everybody sees it as being a worthwhile investment. Right? And when did you decide to go international?
Straight away.
Straight away. Interesting.
And I'll explain why. That's interesting. It's interesting what you've just shared with me, John, about a lot of people not wanting to invest the money. I completely understand that. It depends on everyone's situations and circumstances. And I do feel that a lot of the business owners that I've connected with over the years are in such a hurry to turn over money and to make money. And so my philosophy is to actually learn from all of the roadblocks and setbacks. And every time I have a setback or a challenge or a roadblock, that is actually my growth. And I use that to my advantage. And that takes time. You need the time to be able to evolve. And so if a business owner wants to make money fast, then I would recommend that they do not invest the money and the time to actually build a reputable brand and protect that brand. If it's only going to be a fad, then you better hope that your product is in high demand and you exit at the right time. So I just wanted to share my 2 cents worth on what you had just mentioned there about business owners being unsure or being turned off with the expense of protecting your product. But when you start business, you should absolutely plan to exit. And what impacts do you want to have with your audience, and why are you in business? So, yeah, there's a lot of factors that will determine whether or not I would advise someone to move forward with a patent or an IP investment. And I've gone off on a tangent, haven't I, John? What was your question?
No, that's fantastic, because it is a big talking point, and a big discussion point with business owners. And again, when you come to sell the business, if you have those patents and trademarks in place, then it gives the buyer the comfort of knowing that's there. So it's got some value when you come to sell a business.
Yes.
You know? Because they know that it's protected. That's an interesting
story. That's a very interesting story in terms of evaluating a company based on its IP. It's actually, I've experienced an interesting journey with that, which you may or may not want to hear.
Well, if it's around valuing the business, yes. I mean, I did a podcast with an IP lawyer, a lawyer who specializes in IP, and I also discussed this with a business valuer, my favorite business valuer in town. And his view is, the valuer's view is that having that IP will make the business more attractive, but not necessarily more valuable. Whereas the lawyer sees it as being adding to the value. So what's your view, Amanda?
You definitely need to know your worth in terms of your business worth and the value. So definitely it goes hand in hand. And the story that I have for you, John, I definitely have to possibly share contacts with you to have my company evaluated at that stage, when I'm at that stage. But I phoned a local business who specializes in valuing companies. And the response I received is, oh, nursing pillows, that's a niche market, must not be very popular. He was obviously male. And I said, well, my competitive brand sells 6,000 units a month on Amazon. Thank you for your time. Goodbye. So definitely, it's been an interesting journey for me in terms of pitching to investors. There is a woman in business who has a global brand and a product that has entered the international market that is in demand, and then educating others on why this is needed. And I do feel that new product innovations, there is a challenge because apps are more appealing, tech, mining, they are more appealing to investors when it comes to being looked at for a second time. And so it is incredibly important to have a rate of sale, to have your product evaluated and your overall company evaluated. And you need money to sell. And so doing business has taught me that it's very important to actually understand cash flow and where more money is coming in to make more money so you can actually exit at the right time. That is, I'm learning as I'm going, and I never want to stop learning. That's the beauty about the roadblocks. So tying it in with my philosophy, it's very important to have the setbacks so you can keep pivoting and keep evolving and keep learning on your business journey.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So you mentioned investors.
Yes.
Tell me about investors. Because that's another big talking point with business owners.
I had an amazing experience. I applied for a scholarship before COVID to attend a program called Curtain Ignition. It was an intensive 1 week program for entrepreneurs and startups. And at the end of the program, you were able to pitch in front of investors and VCs. And I got up and I pitched, and at the end of my pitch, one of the gentlemen said, "Oh, my wife has your product and she loves it." It's like, great, thank you. And I networked, and it was an interesting story because everybody knows everybody. And so I was in touch with another investor. And in the mix of all of that, I was invited to pitch my product at Perth Tech Fest, Startup WA. And intuitively, I knew this is interesting. My product is not tech, but it's a great opportunity to get some experience. I got up and I pitched my product, and I was awarded equal first for best pitch for the golden ticket. And however, it wasn't very clear what it was that I had won. I was the winner who was awarded the prize was a duo, two men in tech, who did not finish their 5-minute pitch. And so
they didn't finish it.
No, they did not. And I have quite a lot of fellow business owners who were also pitching, who can confirm that. So it was an interesting journey. And what I was offered, though, was a fast track to commit to 6 months, an accelerator program, which I won't mention names. However, as a mother, a very busy mother of 3 children with special needs, as well as a business owner and operator and sole director of my company, you can imagine, John, that after doing a 1-week intense program, which shocked a lot of people, that I had expanded into international markets without ever having to do a business plan. I think I didn't need to commit to a 6-month program.
Okay.
And I started saying no. And so I learned to say no. And that was my own personal challenge. From saying yes for most of my life, I took ownership of, what do I want for my life? What's going to work for me? What's going to serve me? What is going to serve my business vision and goals and strategies? And how is that going to balance in with my family? And I started saying no. So another good tip that I have for fellow business owners: learn to say no.
Absolutely. Love it. So you designed the business and you designed your life at the same time. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. Yes. I had more clarity around the type of lifestyle that I wanted to have. And there's a backstory to that, John. I spent most of my working career in corporate retail. And before the recession, I was at the pinnacle of my career, and I was about to take on a project management role to roll out stores in the UAE. And a week after being promoted, I lost my older brother to leukemia. And I knew at that moment back then that if I was to work as hard as what I had been working, it would be not for someone else's profit, it would be for my own and my family's. And that's what I did. And that's what I still plan to do, is to work to exit so that I can have the time and the lifestyle that I want to have, because that's priceless. You cannot put money or value when we talk about valuing something. You cannot put a price on life. So it's very
Uh,
important that business owners who are very stretched and stressed remember that.
Yeah, so that was a tipping point for you with your brother, and
Yes,
you can't put a value on your health, can you?
absolutely not.
No.
Health
So
is priority. Health is what is required to actually make business decisions. Your mental health and physical health is paramount, and that is my whole ethos, if you like to call it ethos, around my product, because it is a self-care nursing pillow. It is for the mother. It's actually not for the child. The child doesn't even need to fully be on the product. That's because it's arm support. And so it's about re-educating the market, because 95% of women, when they see or hear nursing pillow, they instantly think of baby first. And that's a generational, cultural problem. And I'm trying to shift that. And I'm creating a movement of parents who understand the concept that when we take care of ourselves first, our children benefit. And a part of that is business owners need to uh, reflect slowing down so that we can actually educate the next generation on how to have successful businesses and how to have balance. We need to be okay with not being busy. We need to be comfortable in sitting and saying, we're doing nothing, because that's when all the creativity and that's where all the good ideas come from. But if we're overstimulated, if we're too busy, if we've got too much on our to-do list, which, let's face it, everyone does at the moment, then it can actually be detrimental to our health and the success of our business.
yes, that's
Does that
fantastic.
resonate, John?
Oh yes, oh yes, and there's a fantastic quote I saw you had, I think, on your LinkedIn profile about like looking after yourself is not selfish, it's
Yes.
self-preservation.
Yes, absolutely. However you wish to word it, it's your number one priority every day should be to check in with, how do you feel? How am I feeling? Because if you are out of sorts, if you are not feeling your best, then that should be your priority to fix first, because you cannot, well, the results are only as good as what you're able to input, right? So if you are not at your optimal level of performance, then how can we expect our children, our work, our friends, our connections, how can we expect that to be received at a great level? It's silly. It's regressive, unproductive. So every day I wake up, I have to check in first with my mental health. I have 3 children who need me and a lot of me. And so if I wasn't taking care of myself first, my children will be disadvantaged. They need a healthy, happy, and strong parent, at least one, ideally 2.
Yeah.
But if everyone is responsible for their own health journey, everyone is responsible for their own life journey. And so I knew, obviously, having lost a sibling to a disease, I knew how important it was, one, to be healthy. So the experiences in my life, whether that's personal or business, can be enhanced. And 2, why am I doing business? What is the purpose of my business? And John, I actually, another part of why I did my business, that was actually for my mental health, when I entered motherhood, as much as I love my children, I was still me. I was still Amanda before I became a mother, and I needed more fuel for my brain. And I am intelligent, I am creative, I am inventive. And so it was an outlet for me to remember who I was before singing the ABCs and the Wiggles and reading and pushing a pram to the park. Yeah, it's all about balance, and that's what I did.
Some fantastic life lessons there for people, for sure.
Yeah.
Just going back to the business side of things, that's all fantastic stuff, Amanda. I think everybody needs to hear what you've just said if they're in business or even if they're not in business. Just going back to, do you have investors in the business?
Yes, I do. I have two silent investors in my business. Yes.
So they don't get involved with the day-to-day, or
No,
do
they're
you, do you,
amazing.
do you have meetings with them, or
Yes, I do. Yes,
so
it's
as,
I'm being very careful with sharing information. Um, but I just didn't give up hope when it came to the investment world. I had a lot of setbacks in my experience with investors and an investment group. It was very confusing. I didn't understand a lot of um, being affiliated with um, with people who understand the product. It was almost too good to be true. Here is a business and a concept and a product that has expanded and reached global markets and has distributors, and she's bootstrapped this entire time. And so I think when I pitch and when I actually presented my concept to a lot of people, it was unbelievable, too good to be true, that there must be something wrong. And so
yeah,
I it was there was a lot of meetings, there was a lot of involvement with uh, putting my value into projects to help make the investment world more feminine. I was involved in a lot of workshops around that. Um, Great for networking. I set up on Gust, and I had quite a few meetings, and it was balancing whether I'm the right fit. And you either need to be making an astronomical amount of money for them to consider investing, or you need to be so fresh in the game that, yes, let's jump on the bandwagon. But I fell into a category of I've bootstrapped, and I'll explain how I've managed to do that with government grants, which I highly recommend to business owners. I've been able to successfully do that with applying for the EMDG Austrade Export Grant. That has been amazing for me. It took me about 50 hours to apply for the grant initially, and it was worth it because after the information is in the system, it was a very easy process to then roll over each year. And so basically 50% of my marketing that I was spending overseas, I was able to receive back, which was then re-injected back into my business. They don't make it very easy for mothers who are partnered with low income earners, though, because unless you're paying yourself a salary, you then need to go out and look for work. And guess what? That's what I did, and I got a government job, John, which everyone said, you won't get a government, you need to know people. And I was like, yeah, that's fake. That's a false belief. I'm good. I know my worth. And 350 people in the pool, what do you know? I'm working for government
yeah,
to pay for childcare. Fun. So further I'm being stretched, but guess what? I learned to say no, that's not serving me, and that's what I did. And in a year that was probably the most intensive year of my life, I'm now an employee, a director of my own company, a soon to be single mother. What do you know? Investors came on board at the very right time. And so, yeah, I never stopped believing that at the right time, things will fall into place. And that's exactly what happened.
wow. Yeah, never stop believing.
Never stop believing. Yes.
So the government grants helped you. Just going back to that overseas thing, how did you, particularly with the United States, how did you get started in the United States?
My my ex-husband was born in the US, so that actually definitely helps in terms of consignees of bringing stock into the US. That definitely helps. However, there is other ways that you can engage in. For example, my factory, my not factory, my warehouse in the US could have signed as a consignee to bring the stock over there. So how did I get started? I just knew I had to focus on the US market because the Australian market was taking a really long time. And so I just knew that it was so much easier to connect with people in the US. And the people in the US actually want to have a conversation, which was different in Australia. The Australian market, no one actually wanted to have a conversation and learn more about my product. So I was really interested in, okay, well, let's launch in the US. And off I went with my prototype to the ABC kids market in Las Vegas. And there was so much interest in my concept and my product. And I had, which I still have in my drawer, a big stack of contacts of distributors. We're talking Korea, Japan, Europe, everywhere. There was Walmart, Target, my products with CVS Pharmacy. It was so much easier to launch in the US, but the bread and butter is Amazon. Amazon, the consumers there, they will turn to Amazon when you have a product and they'll do their research and make their informed decisions around Amazon. So I knew at the back of my busy mind that I need to pour my funds into marketing overseas because look, there's this amazing Oz Industry Export grant that makes so much sense. So that's what I did, and it actually helped with leverage into Australia, having the reputation of launching over in the US and under the umbrella of some of these big names like Bye Bye Baby and Target USA and CVS Pharmacy. So yeah, it actually really helped with my presence in the Australian market. There's not to say I've built a very strong relationship with some of the senior baby buyers, nursery buyers, but it takes time in Australia. It takes a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I've had a few clients that have taken product to the US and just generally the message that comes back all the time is that whenever you go to the US and you say, oh, I want to do this and I've got this idea and I've got this product, people will gather around and help you and be very positive about it and give you contacts and give you leads. Whereas in Australia, people say, no, you can't do that. You want to do
Yeah.
what? No, no, no. It's so hard here to get people on board, but over there, they just fall over backwards to help you. Right?
Absolutely. The community is there, whether that's driven from a possibility of monetary gains, it doesn't really matter. It's still connection, it's still networking, it's still beneficial for everyone involved. But there is an eagerness and a willingness to help. And as an entrepreneur and as a sole business owner, prior to bringing on private investors, that's the component that is missing the most is the co-workers and the network and the team that filled my 9 to 5 corporate retail job prior to being a business owner. So it's very important you stretch yourself out and network and say yes to connections that align with you and say no to the connections that you can see right through. And that is very important that you're able to feel the difference and make that decision.
Fantastic. We need to wrap up in a minute, but I've got to ask about South America. I
Yes.
see you're in Colombia.
Yes, I'm my product is available across more than more than 25 platforms in over 8 countries. I have a distributor in the UAE and in South America. South America market's very different. They're a lot more community focused, and you really need to get in with the people and educate the product. It's a different type of market, very interesting. So how did I expand into South America? My kid's soccer coach.
You're what,
He's
sorry?
my children's soccer coach with
Oh, okay.
so sorry, there's not soccer coach. Soccer coach is another parent in within the soccer team. Is South America is from South America. He's from Colombia. Is a business owner, and uh, his wife was breastfeeding at one of the games. I said, check this product out. And she's like, wow, this is so comfortable. Now I can sit cross-legged comfortably and my back's not hurting. And I'm actually really enjoying being here and feeding my baby. Wow, what is this? So
Yeah.
yeah, they believed in the product. So another tip I have for business owners is it's great if you believe in your concept, but you have to have people within your audience who also believe in it. And that is the recipe for you to make the decisions to invest in the product and continue investing in the product. If you believe in it, that number one. And number two, your target audience also believes in it and there's a need for it. So you need both. You can't just have your own belief. You actually need the demand for it.
Yeah, fantastic advice as well. The and when you bring people into your business, whether they're investors or employees or whatever, they need to have the same values and belief that you have. That's my view.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're spot on. And the right people will come along and align with you, but you have to learn to say no to the ones that actually don't fully understand your mission and your purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It's the same with partnerships. So I've got to ask you,
Yes.
I've got to ask you my favourite question.
Yes.
What would you do differently if you were starting again?
I don't think I would do anything differently if I was starting again because I've needed all my lessons to arrive where I am today. Um, I would tell myself if I was to do this all over again to not be so naive and trusting and as open in business. I have shared a lot of information which I thought would then be reciprocated, and it's not. Not everyone is like me. I just want to help everyone. Um, I'm excited about business. I'm excited for life. I have so much drive and passion, but not everyone feels that way. And so I would not be so naive. I'd be a little bit more careful and cautious when it came to uh, business. Again, I'm also grateful for those lessons. So it's a very, very great question. I would probably do a business plan to some degree, which I never actually did a business plan until I attended the ignition program. But then again, if you do too much planning, it could deter you from actually taking the risks. So yeah, have an idea, definitely have an idea, speak to people, remain curious, definitely remain curious. And the biggest take home I can give for everyone is stay in your lane, stay in your curious lane and not allow what other business owners are doing to be a roadblock for you. That's your own roadblock. Don't be affected by this success or or surface level success, what may seem successful. Don't allow that to affect your passion and your drive and your belief in what it is that you do. Stay in your lane, but still remain curious and cautious at the same time.
Cool. Stay in your lane. I like that. That's beautiful. Summary tips, Amanda.
Summary tips, yes. If you are interested in researching what type of government grants are available to you, the first tip I have is allow time to navigate through the government websites, it can be quite overwhelming, and it can feel like it's impossible and unattainable. But I can assure you that first, if you allocate the time and know that it is going to be a process, it is going to take time to click on lots of different things to arrive at the information that you're trying to find. There is, I believe, well over 4,000 local government grants in Western Australia alone. So that's just to give you an idea. And the money is available. The government wants to help. You just have to spend some time researching. The second tip I wish to give everyone is there is going to be a lot of hungry third-party service providers that want to take some of that funding once you have that funding approved. And my advice is, if you are incredibly busy and you know it's impossible for you to allocate the time to apply for certain grants, and that's not necessarily a bad thing to engage in those services. But if you do have the time, definitely spend the time, because 100% of that grant is then yours. It's in your pocket, which can then be again reinjected back into your business. So that's very important to know. The third thing I would suggest is have a look at your product. If you are a product innovator, or if you have a new concept, and take a look at it and ask yourself, do you like it? And what I mean by that is, John, I actually over-innovated my products. And as a result of over-innovating my products, that was matched with complications. And so it's really important that you take, again, the time to take a step back as a customer and put yourself in a customer role and go, do I like it? What don't I like about my product? And I think when you jump on the bandwagon of being so excited about a new concept, a new design, you can actually over innovate. And that's exactly what I did. And I made a lot of mistakes. And then, yeah, since then I fixed all of those mistakes and launched a version 2 of my product, which I needed to learn those mistakes to now finally 7 years later, I love my product. 7 years later, John.
Yeah.
When I thought I loved my product back then, but really, did I? No, I did not. And so, yeah, COVID actually helped in a big way me see some of those overly creative innovations. But yeah, I just need to strip that right back.
Yeah, you can overcomplicate things, can't you?
Yes.
And a good friend of mine, one of his favourite sayings is that simple businesses make money, complex ones don't.
Love that.
And I
Very
think,
true.
I love that. Don't over innovate. And you were talking earlier about always learning and making mistakes.
Yes. We need to welcome the mistakes. We must not be afraid of how we show up, how it may look. You must be fearless in business. And what I mean by fearless is you must be okay with making mistakes, because it's not a mistake, it's progress. And if you are not over egotistical or arrogant in business, and you still have that hunger to learn, because you know how much worth is in learning. And I say this as a mother because I'm always thinking of my children, sharing that information. But in people in general, even if you're not a parent, if you actually genuinely enjoy helping see others grow, then that will become your purpose in life. And so in order to keep helping other fellow business owners, we have to still be open to learning, and that never stops. And we would be our own roadblock if we believed that we know everything in business, because we don't.
We don't know. And we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after or
Exactly.
what's going to come along. So, um,
Exactly. Or Wesfarmers partnering, merging Target and Kmart. Who knew that was going to happen? I definitely didn't, nor did the senior buyer that I built a relationship for more than 4.5 years. So that's another juicy, interesting story, which again, it's clarity. It's not, oh wow, I've manufactured and signed off on X amount of stock being in store and online. And now what do I do? It's great. Now I've got clarity. Thank you for that roadblock. Now I have clarity that I knew from day dot that was supposed to be for Amazon allocation. And I knew it, and I should have trusted it, but I didn't. But that's okay. So there's more to what I can offer you on your podcast, John, in terms of investors and working collaboratively and sharing ideas and then selling your why. Yeah, I've had to be open to going with the flow and trusting other people's judgments as well, and that it's okay if that doesn't work out, because it is growth and it is learning. And now that everybody's on the same page as me, then okay, great, let's get back to what the focus was. And so, yeah, that's some
fo-
advice for
focus. I love that word.
yeah,
So, what's the expectation of your investors? What are they in it for? What are they?
make money.
Yeah, I was afraid you were
Of
going to say
course.
that.
No, I have amazing investors. And I say amazing because they believe in me. They believe in what I believe in. And that is very important. That was very, very important for the partnership to work. There is respect. I have a lot of respect for them, and I'm very, very grateful that they believe in what I believe in. And so the expectation is obviously to see the brand evolve and grow and make money. But I'm very transparent in what I'm wanting, and that is to exit. And so having that clarity and everyone understanding that, yeah, that's been very good, very, very helpful.
Yeah, exit. Begin with the end in mind.
Absolutely. That is definitely also a number one. To start a business, you must plan to exit. That would be what I highly recommend. On your whiteboard, plan to exit. How will my exit look like? And then work backwards.
Absolutely. I call it backcasting. It's the opposite of forecasting.
Yes, I love that.
Start with the end in mind and work backwards. Exactly. That's what I do with some of my clients who are open to that, and it works beautifully. Works
Amazing.
beautifully. There's a documentary on Netflix about a business in the US called Juul,
Okay.
Juul, that
Okay.
were pioneers in the e-cigarette, like the
Yes, I do
uh,
remember that. I bought one for my mum when I was over in the US years ago. They were selling it on
well,
the streets in Vegas.
that's an interesting story because the guys that started the company, their vision was to take on the tobacco companies and offer an alternative to nicotine and tobacco and all that sort of thing. But along the way, they got people involved in the business and investors into the business that didn't have the same values. And the whole thing sort of came off the rails.
Mm,
It's a very, very interesting. I'm thinking of using it as a case study, actually, because there's a lot of learning in that about what not to do. And in the
mm,
end, the company that owns Philip Morris, the tobacco company,
yeah.
ended up buying 35% of them
Mm,
because it was competition for the tobacco companies. So the tobacco company bought into them, and I don't know where it's at now, but I think it was 35% they bought, and all the employees became millionaires overnight, and it just changed the whole. Everybody had different values and different vision, and anyway, it's an interesting
That is
story.
a brilliant company to do a case study on.
And how can people contact you or find your product?
They can go to my website, feedingfriend.com.au, or if you are in the US, if you are listening over there, .com's fine. It arrives at the same place, feedingfriend.com. You can contact me via email, info@feedingfriend.com.au, or if you wish to wholesale my fabulous self-care portable nursing pillow, orders at feedingfriend.com.au.
Beautiful, beautiful. Amanda, it's been fantastic, and we went down a few paths there which I wasn't expecting about life, the universe and everything, but so valuable. And I'm so glad you brought those things up, and there's just so much learning in this session. Really, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and congratulations on your success and where you're at, and may it continue.
Thank you so much, John. It's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you, and I feel very humbled that you have invited me onto your podcast. So thank you for your time and for hearing my story and taking the time to actually, listen. So it's very much reciprocated. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. And thank you, everyone, for listening in to the podcast. I'm sure you got a lot out of it. And if you want to contact me and find out more about what I do, it's johndenton.com.au. And I look forward to having you on another podcast soon. So bye for now.